Good afternoon. I call to order the regular city council meeting for this Monday, December 15th. Please silence your cell phones or other devices if you have them with you. Item number 1 is a roll call, please.
Blessing.
Here.
Fuller.
Here.
Hayes. Jansen.
Here.
Olson. Here. Hittner. Here. Samuelson.
Here. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is the mayor's report. I just brief a couple of things. Since our last meeting, I attended the department heads meeting. Was a guest at the T-Minot holiday party out at the base. Welcomed the Special Olympics basketball tournament that was in town. Took part in the Oil BCC grant committee briefing that took place. And then, as a member of Task Force 21, attended the Strategic Deterrent Coalition 10th Annual Threat and Situational Awareness Workshop in DC. Are there other questions? All right, thank you. That being the case, we'll move on to the city manager's report. And City Manager Tom Joyce is under the weather, so substituting kind of like an NFL quarterback in some of the teams this year is our finance director, David Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I think, first of all, I would entertain any questions you might have for clarification, or we could ask the department heads to come up for what's included in the city manager's report. And if there are no questions on that, I have a couple of brief slides to go over.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, go ahead with your slides.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is just 2 slides, so it'll be very brief. Again, I just wanted to go over a few things. We're always looking at different ways to present the information graphically, and that's one of the things we're really working hard on going forward, is to be able to put this information out on our website or bring it to council and present it to the public in a format that is maybe a little more digestible to the masses than just our annual report or our quarterly reports and those types of things. Keeping in mind that context is extremely important with a lot of these reports. What I'm going to show you tonight is more looking at trends over the last couple of years and then projecting them out into the next couple of years. The budget process this year, we had folks create 3 years worth of budgets, so we're going to use some of that data to extrapolate some information and again just look at some trends over time. So we can go to the first slide. So what we're looking at here is we have 3 data points here. The top line is the expenditures, and we're focusing on just general fund. That's where most of our operating costs for things like public safety, administration, streets, all of those things come from the general fund. So we're looking at expenditures as a whole on the top line. The middle line there is what our tax revenue trend is over time. So that includes property taxes and sales taxes. So now, again, context is important. There are other revenue sources that come into the equation here as well. But the property tax component especially is something that we have some control over as we establish the rate that we assess to taxpayers. And the sales tax, we assess the rate, but we don't have any control over how much money people spend on things that are taxable to us. So we can't really have a huge impact on that. So the takeaway from this is, if you look at this, the delta between the expenditures and the revenues, It starts out in 23 and 24, it's fairly consistent, and then we end up with a broader gap between those two numbers as we project forward. The bottom line here is the projection for the revenue or the reserve amounts for general fund over that time period too. So the dilemma here is as the revenues don't keep up with the expenditures, we're using reserves to offset that. So at some point, we utilize more of those reserves than we don't have any left in the piggy bank at the end of the day. So we have to do something to correct course on that. So the next slide that we move forward on to the next one here is we took a little bit of a different dive here. We looked at just operational costs in the general fund. So things like pay and benefits, purchase services, supplies, some of those things, the operational costs that we have, not including capital. So you can see here that divergence in the expenditures and the revenues is a little bit less pronounced, but still we end up at a point there where the expenditures are projected to increase those tax or exceed those tax revenues, and again the reserves continue to decline. So the reason I wanted to bring this up here is this is an exercise that we went through at a department head meeting here about a month or 6 weeks ago, where we handed out a piece of paper with an X and Y axes on it, and we said, draw a trend line that you think we're at, without a scale or anything, just draw a general trend line. And most of the department heads did a pretty good job of essentially predicting what these trend lines would look like. So this is just a little bit of a follow-up to reinforce, based on some actual data and some forecasted numbers. So this is a little bit of the challenge that we have looking forward, and why those longer-term outlooks for budgets are going to be important as we move forward. We still have time to correct some of this trajectory a little bit, but it's going to require some work in the future too. So just a little bit of a snapshot. We're going to continue to try to come up with creative ways to present this information in the future and to improve our forecasting abilities, so we can get information in front of the council to make better decisions going forward then too. And I would stand for any questions you might have on this.
Alderman Blessum.
Thanks. So Dave, I guess just looking at the graph, back of the envelope, fast way of looking at it here. From 23 to 27, I'm looking at about a 29% increase in expenses in about a 4-year period. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the issue. Yes, we can do some things tax-wise. As you said, that is within our control. Reserves, to a certain extent, are within our control as well. We choose how we spend those. The major lever point I believe that we have is on the expense side. And 29% over 4 years, that's the unsustainable number here. We can fix the others and get them in alignment once we've got that under control. So the hard work and the great work that staff did this season is going to pay off, and we're headed down that path. And I'm excited to see where we can get to and to start bending that curve so that the long-term numbers actually do work out.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum to it, and I don't want to be the doomsday person here at all either, and that's not my intent. One thing I'll point out too, in context is everything when we're looking at these things. The reserve amount includes amounts projected to be used from reserves for the future enhancements to the police department building too. So that's a substantial amount of money. Obviously that moves the needle considerably with that trend line as well. So like I said, context is everything. There are a number of other variables that come into play here. But again, just looking at different ways to present the data. So as we start talking about the 27 and future budgets again, which will be right around the corner here, this is some of the things that we need to consider. And as we, plot our course going forward, so we get some clear direction too.
Any other questions for the Finance Director? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. That brings us to item number 5, which is the consent items. These are the items that will be passed on a single motion. I've been asked to hold back item 5.5 for individual consideration. Are there any other items that the council members would like to hold back? City Clerk.
5.12 has been removed from the agenda altogether, so
when the council considers this, 5.12 will not be considered.
Okay, thank you for letting us know that. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the remaining items as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the remaining items as presented. Any discussion? If not, please record your votes.
The motion passed unanimously.
We'll now deal with item 5.5. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the recommendation. Alderman Blessam, I believe you pulled this.
Yes, thank you. So, so Dave, if, my question is about the Magic Fund loan forgiveness. I would think things that come through this document are typically going to be, as we saw with the other ones, duplicate invoices, things that are unexpected. Is this what it looks like, that this is actually forgiving the dollars as part of the development agreement for the Magic Fund project?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessam, so how these are set up is they're set up as a forgivable loan, so we book the entire amount of the loan, and then as they meet the criteria outlined in the development agreement, we go and make an adjustment to write off the receivable portion that's due that year if they've met the milestones of the agreement. So it's a manual process. So we include it on here just because it's the same process that we would go through to write off any other type of receivable.
So if I can continue, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
So Dave, and Brian, if one of you can answer the question, so how did the performance look for Stevens Welding? How did that project lay out versus the development agreement? And really, my question is, we're writing off what I would understand is the last 74,000 maybe, or are we part of the way through the project? Because if I remember right, the entire project was something like 125,000. This is a portion of it. So how did that project actually go through?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessam, I would probably have to phone a friend in the back, but, so every year this comes up for the write-off. And I'm just trying to go back a little bit. There was a little bit of a hang-up with the documentation on this particular process, with the execution of the agreement and how it went through. And then the auditors did multiple years at one time of the verification of the employment.
You're
So-
correct.
Yes.
I think this is year 2 of 5 that we've audited so far, but I'm not positive. I'm trying to sift through my emails, but I can get you that information if you're interested.
Okay, so I guess my question on this whole thing is, when we have a development agreement with a set of requirements in it that have to be met to use the people's money to pay off a loan, do we not see that as it comes through anyway? I guess that's my first question is, I would like to see these as agenda items, even if they're in consent, that, hey, they've met the requirement, they haven't, we're refunding this, we're not refunding this. I think the public deserves to know that for their economic development dollars, number one. And then number two on this one, yeah, I would like to see this one just because it's a funny amount and it leads me to believe that we're probably maybe either not hitting it exactly right, or it's maybe even up to 3 years worth all at once, is kind of what it looks like to me.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessam, I think it's the combination because the first year of the agreement, there was some issues with when the agreement was executed and when it was actually put into place and all the Bank of North Dakota paperwork and everything else. So we came back and amended the agreement to change the dates. I believe the first year they didn't meet all of the employment requirements, so they were required to pay some of the first installment back. That's why it's an oddball dollar amount also. But we can certainly bring all of these back for transparency purposes.
Yeah, I guess if I could, Mr. Mayor, I think that's really important. And again, it happens that this is the one name on here. Believe me, that's not my point to point anything out about any company. That's not the issue. But I would like to, just for transparency's sake, I think we should see these, especially when there's an adjustment. If somebody isn't meeting the development agreement that was laid out to get the funds in the first place, I know that those clawbacks are there and they're being implemented, but I think it's important for the people to understand that. Because we, as we talk through this kind of stuff on the Economic Development Committee, these were the things that were mattering a lot to me, is what's the actual effect of the money we're spending? What are the programs really doing? Are they doing the things that we expect them to do? Because not only is it the actual expenditures, but it's all the city staff time and everybody trying to run this stuff down. So for the future, I would like to see these, and I'm not sure, Mr. Mayor, or to the city attorney, would you like a motion for direction on that, or how would you, or is it good enough just to sort of verbally say it?
I think we can pull it from the motion at hand, and then the approval would just stand on item 5.5 without the Magic Fund loan forgiveness for Stevens Welding. Is that the request?
Actually, it's not, Mr. Mayor, if I could continue. I'm fine with continuing here. Our finance department is, I believe, doing the right work. I'm not worried about that. For what I'm looking at for future work, when we're looking at these contracts, at these Magic Fund development agreements, and whether they're meeting their requirements and we're actually forgiving the dollars, I think the council should see those. And I think they should come through. They can be in a block. We could get a document with 12 of them at once. But I think we should see them and approve them, at least in a consent item.
Certainly. Alderman Blessum, Mayor Janser, Council, I think it's just noted by our finance staff, and they'll take that into consideration for future approvals.
Yeah, and
Perfect.
just one note, Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, that's actually included in the Magic Fund annual report that the chair presents to the council.
Okay.
So it's kind of in the lump there, but we can definitely bring these through. There's not that many of them, so it wouldn't be that time extensive.
Great, thanks.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, let's go ahead and record our votes.
The motion passed unanimously.
All right, that concludes the consent items. We will move on to our section of action items. And the first of those is item 6.1. It is a federal-state partnership for intercity passenger rail grant and other federal rail grant opportunities. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Fuller.
Thank you. Just one quick question on this one, I guess. When I read through it, I was just trying to see everything, and I understand that we're trying to get Burlington Northern on board to help us out here, and I'm fine with that. But down at the bottom where we get to the funding, the local funds, 100,000 of it is coming from the economic development sales tax. And I guess my question is, how are we using that money towards this, if this grant is approved or whatever? Does it fit the three categories that we're talking about? Because to me, I guess there's a little confusion there. And so that was my only question.
Sure. Mr. Mayor and Alderman Fuller, I'll try to answer that. I think the thought is here is we look at the corridor, especially improvements that could happen at 27th Street with some development pressures in that area of the city. If some of those things come to fruition, there could be some traffic issues that need to be mitigated. So as part of this study, we would look at the corridor and identify areas that may need safety improvements, 27th being one. I think that's how we tie that back to economic development. Welcome.
Further discussion? Okay, thank you, Lance.
Welcome.
Seeing no further discussion, let's go ahead and record our votes on this item.
The motion passed unanimously.
Item 6.2 is the HRR release of properties. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the recommendation. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessum.
Dave, with these, we're just essentially writing it off, right? So the last sentence in the background here says these two properties did not provide the certification for requirements each year and are the last two outstanding of the ones that we needed to do. So we're, in this particular case, these were CDBG funds that came in and were used for these properties. These two didn't certify. So the city is going to foot that bill with the CDBG funds we had already received. I guess my question is there any danger there that those funds weren't used appropriately then? We have a lot of worries about how those funds get used and our federal funding and all the hoops, right? So do we have any worry that the hoops weren't jumped through quite right on these two properties?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessam, I think our consensus here was that the intent behind this program was to do the rehab of the flood-impacted housing for disadvantaged population. The requirement was to provide insurance, both property insurance and flood insurance for a 5-year period. For every year that they're in compliance, we would forgive 20% of the outstanding balance. So in theory, at the end of 5 years, the entire amount would be forgiven. They wouldn't owe anything. Excuse me. Ultimately, or presumably, the requirement for the insurance and the flood insurance was to protect the city's interest in those properties. So we've had some struggles with these two properties. One of these properties was subject to a foreclosure notice. There's been some challenges with the occupants of these buildings. They have been in at least partial compliance throughout the term, just never enough to get across the finish line to get it all forgiven. In addition to that, the city's interest was perfected via a UCC filing on the structures on these properties. And those UCC filings expire over time, and there's a process you have to go through to renew them, which requires those folks to be on board and sign on for that again. So it's a combination of things here. We're more than 10 years down the road. The city's interest hasn't been negatively impacted. If we were to pursue collection, the likelihood of collection would be not very good. The amount that would be subject to collection would probably exceed the value of the properties, and some of these, and then we would displace the disadvantaged population that's living in those properties. So we have forgiven some of these in the past based on medical conditions, other extenuating circumstances. So it was our thought process that we would move forward with these to forgive the remainder of the balance. And I think, I can't ever say it with 100% certainty, but I think the risk of HUD coming back and demanding those funds back are low at this point.
Further discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes.
The motion passed 5-1 with dissent from Alderman Blessam.
That takes us to item 6.3. This is a parking ramp payment methods and rates resolution. What are your wishes?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the recommendation. Discussion. Discussion. Seeing no discussion from the council, we're apparently ready to vote. Please cast your votes.
The motion passed unanimously.
Item 6.4 is the approval of the implementation of a return check fee. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Moved by Alderman
Second.
Sampson, second by Alderman Fuller. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Blessam.
Thank you. Dave, on this one, I certainly understand that, we deal with collections in our business every day, and it's something you have to deal with. The only, I guess, check that I got as I thought of this was, it seems like the way the world is today, we really don't want to do anything to discourage checks. It's actually better for us if we're not taking on the fees. Now, I'm not sure exactly how our mechanisms work, but I know that we've got, 40-some thousand in water bill debit or bank fees to start with. So the 35, I guess that seems like a lot. Is that what we're getting from our bank at this point? Or it sounded like maybe we're giving it a little bit for the trouble that we have at the city just to kind of get that done. But to me, that offset, if you drive even 15% of the people writing checks off of that, we might eat all this up immediately in credit card fees. So I just had some questions on it.
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, this is, I think the number was a little bit arbitrary on our behalf. It seems like that's the standard in the business community, is $35 is about the standard fee. We're certainly open to any suggestions if the council wants to modify that. Currently, we're not charging anything. And part of that reason was because we weren't being assessed a fee from our bank. That is going to change. So we will incur a fee for every one of these return transactions. The other part of that is we're seeing an increase in the number of these that we're dealing with. And some of them are repeat offenders. So we're dealing with these on a regular basis. So part of the idea of charging the fee is to, change behaviors that comes along with that too. We've talked about limiting the ability to use check as a form of payment, but when we utilize customer-facing portals to handle payment transactions, even though we may remove that, they can often go in and circumvent that by adding it because it's through a third-party payment processor. So we don't have the ability to completely eliminate that. So we're trying to recover the costs that we're going to be assessed in the upcoming year, as well as our administrative costs, and then to change the behavior.
Mr. Mayor, if I could continue.
Go ahead, Alderman Blessum.
I think, I guess the only other little piece of this, it seems to me, especially someone that's writing a check. I mean, writing a check is a very deliberate act. You're picking up whatever that bill is, you're writing a check, you're dropping it into an envelope, you're maybe dropping it in a box. I'm sure there are some that are playing games from time to time, but I feel like most of those are just a bad situation. And so with that in mind, I'd actually like to make a small amendment to this. I know it sounds trivial, but I'd like us to amend this down to the dollar amount that we're charged from our bank. Whatever that number is, if you've got that, fine. If not, I think we can give the direction to set it at that and do that as a motion. And again, to me, I guess I have a heart for people that are going through a little bit of a tough time. And I'd rather not hit them any harder than we have to make sure we're covering our costs. So that's my motion.
Is there a second to the motion to amend?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessum, so the amount that we will be charged will be, from the bank, will be $16 for each item.
So that would be my motion, Mr. Mayor.
One, if I may, Mr. Mayor, one
ahead.
thing that maybe the council would like to consider is setting a threshold that after so many occurrences, that maybe that's an escalating fee.
I guess if there isn't a second, we're good to move on anyway. But if there's a second, we can continue the discussion.
Yeah, I wasn't going to second. I was going to ask a couple of questions.
Okay, we don't have a second for this motion to amend, so we're still talking about the recommendation as presented with a $35 fee associated with it. Alderman Fuller.
Thank you. And not that I'm opposed to what you were saying, Mike, because I asked the same thing earlier, right? Like, what does it actually cost us if the bank is charging us $16 plus a $5 return item fee, right? That's $21, give or take?
The $16 inclusive of
Oh, that includes the fee.
It's all
Okay,
in.
sorry, I misunderstood that earlier. And then time and effort for the city. I mean, would we be okay bringing it down to, say, $20 to $25? And I mean, because I know where you're coming from. You're worried about the people who accidentally do it getting hit with a fee and they can't afford it. But that doesn't, I think to Dave's point, that doesn't negate the people that are doing it on a monthly basis to us. They get the letter that they're going to be disconnected. They give us a check that they know is bad, and then our bank returns it. The people in the office have to come back and retake it out of the system and do everything. So, I agree with you, Mike. I don't think we want to take advantage of anybody, but the people that are the frequent flyers, as we call them. How do we mitigate then if we bring it down to that? How do we mitigate them? To Dave's point, maybe we could give an escalating factor in there for those folks.
I think, Mr. Mayor, just my answer to that would be that the like in the case of water bill, the disconnect notice is the escalation. I mean, it's not perfect. I know you get people up there, then they pay it down a little bit. Believe me, I think we all understand that the people that are in that situation are choosing that bill over their car insurance, over hopefully not rent, because that's probably number one most of the time, could be over what's supper tonight. Okay, so that's why for me these are always just a little bit tough. People need to pay their bills. We all do, right? That's how society functions. That's how it works. I don't ever want to feel like we're charging more than we need to deliver that. And again, at 35, I'll vote yes. I still think it's the right thing to do. I just thought there might be something that we could do to adjust it a little bit.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Fuller.
And we were talking about this a little bit earlier. What about, Mike, if we, instead of changing it, if we were to give finance the ability or water department the ability to maybe waive it one time or something for a customer, you know, if it's a one-off type thing? Because they know the frequent flyers, they see the names on the things every month. So those are the ones, obviously, that we're not gonna waive, but I don't know. I mean, just talking about it, does that?
Yeah, I guess, Mr. Mayor, from my perspective, it gets tough to determine kind of what that looks like. And, you know, you want to give people, especially in the roles that are actually implementing the set kind of cut and dried rules. So again, I understand the intent. And I think in general terms, we want to encourage people to pay the bills. I mean, we've delivered a service as a city to them and they need to pay for that. I just always get that soft spot to not want to say, well, shoot, what if they truly are choosing which bill they're paying tonight? And, you know, we're making that just that little bit harder.
I guess what I would maybe suggest is that, that since this is a new approach, that maybe the finance committee, you know, assuming that we pass this, maybe the finance committee look at this after a few months have passed and sort of take a shot at whether there needs to be an amendment to it or not. And you could always bring that back to us with those recommendations. Okay, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, let's enter our votes.
The motion passed unanimously.
All right, we're moving on to item 6.5, which is the approval of the 2026 services agreements with the various organizations in the community that we have service agreements with. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Blessam.
I've actually got a couple of amendments that I'd like to make. The first, and if I can, I'll send it to you, Michaela. The first is to adjust item 3 or section 3 in each of the contracts, which is titled reporting today. And what I'd like to do is add an additional couple sentences to that will require each of our partners to, by March 15th, provide a financial report to the city detailing the expenditures that have used city funds. And that report would then be used under the finance director and city manager's direction to determine whether they've met that requirement to be eligible for future funding. So Michaela, I sent that to you. Hopefully you can get it so people can see it. That would be the entire section, and it's adding everything from provider shall submit.
Oh my God.
So that's the motion anyway, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second.
They come in teams, Michaela.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Oh, wait a second. Maybe I'm not signed in. I apologize. No, by email.
oh, and so it's gonna come. Okay, so this is all for the first one, correct?
Yep, exactly. So that replaces the entire section.
Able to see all of this, just because it's over 250 characters, but
Alderman Olson.
While Michaela is reviewing this, are we going to be able to see both copies here so that we can see what is being struck out?
There's, the good news is there's no strikes, there's just an add, so
Okay.
that'll make it a little bit simpler to view.
Where does it start at?
It starts with,
In addition?
in addition, exactly. So again, Mr. Mayor, the motion is to have each of the entities that we supply funds to provide a financial report to us of the expenditures that use those funds during the year by March 15th.
For the year that they're currently in, or for the previous year?
So for the prior year, correct.
The prior year, okay.
Yep.
Okay, prior year, all right. So that was a motion. Do we have, was there, you seconded that, Alderman Fuller? Okay. I guess meanwhile, since, so we can proceed here while this is getting worked through, is there any discussion on the explanation that Alderman Blessam has given of what his motion will contain when we get to see it?
I mean, I have the motion in, but I don't know if you'll see it since it's an amendment to the original motion. But I don't have the Word docs either, Jenna, so I can't go into the service agreements and change it. I can plug in. I'm Diasforgen.
So again, just to reiterate, starting in line 2, it starts with in addition and goes to the end. So it's an addition of those lines. Again, just to be clear, nothing is meant to be detailed transaction level data. It's meant to be a summary suitable, for the finance director and the city manager to approve that says, yeah, this is how the funds were spent, and the public can be made aware of how and where their funds are being spent.
Okay, discussion on the motion to amend the agreements. Alderman Olson.
Thank you. I'm a little confused as to the March 15th date. If they are going to provide a report in April, why is April not acceptable? I assume that you're wanting it to roll into a budget talk, but we're talking 15 days.
Yeah, and Mr. Mayor, I would have no worries whatsoever with aligning those dates. That would be no issue. For me, the important thing is to get it done, not the date. Yeah, I just want to make sure there was a date. So I'd be open to an amendment if that was.
Further discussion?
So, Mr. Mayor, I will amend my motion to make that be no later than April of each year, which will align with the report that's due in April anyway.
Okay. So no later, okay, so no later than April as opposed to the March 15th date, okay. Okay, further discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on the amendment. I think Alderman Fuller seconded
And was he good with the
amendment.
change?
Yeah, I was fine with it.
Oh, okay. All right.
The motion passed unanimously.
And you had something else, Alderman
Yep,
Blessing?
I've got one more amendment. So the other amendment that I would like to make is in the First District Health Unit, Exhibit 1, under the scope of services in point A. Today, and you know, a little bit shame on me for not seeing this sooner or looking at it before, but We have very explicitly from the city side said that First District Health Unit will engage in a syringe exchange service that includes harm reduction counseling. I think as a city, that is not at all our place. Whether First District Health Unit decides to run a program that does a syringe exchange service is completely up to them, but I don't think we should be encouraging or requiring it, which is what this does from the city side. So, Mr. Mayor, my motion would be to remove the words syringe through counseling in Section A of scope of services for First District.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Olson.
if we could call Holly Breckus up, I would be curious to know why that statement has been in there, because maybe there's a rationale for it.
Good evening. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I guess that language has been in there since we've started our syringe service program, and just kind of a little history about that. That program was actually started through the Mayor's Council on Addiction that was city-led and that kind of thing. So that's how it originated. Pulling it out is fine. We currently are operating that program with our opioid settlement funds. So all the money that we use for that program comes from the settlement funds that we got a grant from the state, which is different from the settlement funds that you guys contribute to the jail program. So,
Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions for the First District Health Unit Director? Seeing none, thank you.
thank you.
Any further discussion by the council of the motion to amend? Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's cast our vote on the amendment.
The motion passed 5-1 with dissent from Mayor Janser.
Okay, so we are back to the main motion with the amendments. Any further discussion? Alderman Olson.
I do have a question on one of the amendments that we did pass. So in the financial reporting, knowing that I think some of those contracts are coming in at different times, all that we're going to require by April 30th is just the financial report stating how the dollars were used. Am I understanding that correctly?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, yeah, that was the intent of the motion. So whatever, and that, in my mind, when I originally put it together, I was thinking February 15th, which is why they ended up so close once I moved it to March. That may be the only thing then coming in April, if that's all that's being reported upon. And that part's okay. But again, so starting with April of 26, we should get 25 reports, year 25 reports, not number 25, 2025 reports from each of the entities that are listed in our agreement list, detailing how the dollars were spent that the city provided.
Okay, thank you.
Clear? Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Finance Director.
if I may just point out too, not all of the reporting dates are the same. So some of them are June and December, so they vary a little bit. But I think the idea is we'd have that information prior to the request for the next year budget. We'd have time to get that information. So some of them, it might be really close to when they're doing their presentation, so they get a free pass maybe. But I think either one of the dates can work.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on the motion as amended.
The motion passed unanimously.
That takes us to item 6.6, which is the Fifth Avenue Investments Disclaimer of Interest. What are your wishes?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote.
The motion passed unanimously.
That takes us to item 6.7. This is the Fifth Avenue Investments Quitclaim Deed. Alderman Fuller.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote.
The motion passed unanimously.
Item 6.8 is the Bank of North Dakota FlexPace agreement with CXL LLC for the location of 300, 302, and 304 Central Avenue East. What are your wishes?
Move approval.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded to approve the recommendation. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Blessam.
Just a quick question for the finance director. Dave, is it typical that we're able to sort of mix the funding to provide the local funding? Because that's what this is doing, right? This is essentially saying the facade funds already met the state's requirement for the PACE loan, so we don't have to provide any additional. I mean, I guess that may be a good thing, but is that typical?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessam, I wouldn't say it's typical, but we have done this similar action in the past where we have provided funding to a project, and the state has allowed us to use that as in-kind contribution to meet the local share for the interest buy-down. And that's what's being contemplated here. We are giving the funding for the facade program, so they are allowing us to use that as the local match for the interest buy-down.
So if I can continue, Mr. Mayor, this one seems a little, again, it is what it is, and if it's something we've done, Bank of North Dakota signed off, it seems to make sense, but it seems like this is an error on the Bank of North Dakota side, because the whole point here is that you get sort of the local skin in the game throughout to get this to work. So the interest buy down is just done on the taxpayer's back without the local contribution to make it happen. Am I wrong?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Blessam, I think they're taking a more holistic view of this. They're looking at the entire project. The city funding, or given that funding as part of the facade program is our contribution. So they're allowing us to use that, like I said, as an in-kind contribution. And we have done, I think, at least 2 of these in the past. Although it's not every single one of the PACE or FlexPace loans, we have done it in the past.
Further discussion? Seeing none, let's cast our votes.
The motion passed 5-1 with dissent from Alderman Samuelson.
All right, that takes us to section 7. We've completed our action items, and section 7 is personal appearances. This is where speaker cards are required, and you're asked to provide your name and address. The address will be held as confidential information, and the topic that you intend to speak on. And those speaker cards are to be submitted to the city clerk, and we have a number of them here for this evening already. Missing information from the speaker card disqualifies the individual from speaking. Each individual will be allotted 5 minutes to make their comments, and the individual will be notified when their 5 minutes have expired. The 5-minute time limit may be extended by a majority vote of the city council. All comments must address the topic identified on the speaker's card, be pertinent to the city of Minot, and fall under the authority of the city council, and be directed to the council as a whole. Comments may not be defamatory, abusive, harassing, or unlawful, include information that is exempt or confidential under North Dakota Open Records Law, or interfere with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Individuals will not have access to the city's audiovisual technology unless prior submitted or prior approved. and individuals may not yield their allotted time to another individual. So with that, we are in public appearances, and our first speaker is Liane Zeltinger. I don't have a specific address, but Liane, are you here?
Good evening. After the vote this evening, I would like to plant a seed. That's all I'm going to do tonight, is just plant a seed. But before I do that, I will share just a little bit of history.
Liane, could you kind of tweak the mic over? Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
I think that'll
sorry.
help. Yep.
Before I start, I want to share a little bit of history. My dad spent 4 years overseas during World War II. He never spoke of those 4 years in all of his 88 years. Fabian was fortunate to only serve 2 years during the Vietnam conflict because the government started the early release program as things de-escalated. And our son-in-law just retired the last day of November after serving 29 years in the Air Force. He was stationed here for, I think, 5 years. We always hear the words, "Thank you for your service." I don't believe that denotes the correct connotation. These men and women, along with their spouses, sacrificed their lives. Now that can mean death usually, but that doesn't cover everything. They sacrificed their lives, giving up many freedoms that we enjoy to protect those freedoms. There are even rules regulating when they can ride a motorcycle and what they can do with that motorcycle. I don't ride a motorcycle, but we, the public, don't have to follow those extended rules. That mind and body on the cycle out for a fun day of riding belongs to the government through the military. Between 1988 and 1992, over 350 military bases were closed or realigned, is what I've been able to find in the research. City manager isn't here this evening, but he could probably give me better numbers. I believe that it was about that time that Minot started the Minot Base Retention Program. Fast forward to today. Another historic change is in the works, and that's the Sentinel program. Hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on planning, designing, preparing, and implementing the Sentinel program. That is part of a historic change in our military. I realize that after the vote this evening, it is too late to change the purpose or use of the $110,000 that was requested by the MAC-EDC, but I think we all can agree $110,000 has little bearing on the federal government retaining our base. They could do things overnight we wouldn't even know about. The seed I would like to plant is that we change how and where that money is expended. And I'll be completely honest with you, I have not had time to completely research this except casually visiting with a couple of people. But I do have a couple of suggestions, and then we've got a year to maybe work on this. I'd like to see a fund established, and maybe there is one, with stringent guidelines that would be used to assist families, military families, who find themselves with an unexpected financial burden, and especially when their spouse is deployed, such as a major vehicle expense, or furnace goes out, or medical, family emergency. And I don't know how many of the men, because I think that program, Sending the Airmen Home, is a fabulous program. I don't know if we had enough money this year, the $31,000, if that covered everybody that was in that program, but we could use some of that $110,000. To me, these and other ideas would have a direct impact on the lives of the men and women who serve in our military. And that sacrifice would be recognized. Hopefully this will sprout some other seeds, some thoughts, and what we can do towards the military that would have a strong impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Billy Gunderson, speaking about access routes and ADA.
Mayor Janser, council members. Addressing the NDDOT Federal Aid Project Action Item 8.1 at the City Council meeting on November 17, 2025. The 2028 Transportation Alternatives, STRS pedestrian ramps. Alderman Samuelson was visibly displeased regarding the federal requirements of ADA ramps improvements regardless if the project receives federal funding or not. Addressing Urban Grant Program, 3rd Street, Southeast Construction Segment 2, Alderman Blessum stated that one of the most important things that we can provide are streets. We also need sidewalks. Addressing the 2029 or 2030 Highway Safety Improvement Grant, Burdick Expressway pedestrian signals. The need for the traffic light at 8th Street Southeast is paramount as the pedestrians cross as the crosswalk at Corbett Field 13th Street Southeast. They are necessary all year round for the community, not just for heavy traffic for economic development. They are the only safe crossings east of Burdick Expressway Bridge after 9th Street. Burdick Expressway is a 4-lane highway through Minot that has heavy traffic. After addressing to the Surf River Joint Board safety and ADA requirements and my concerns that Administrator Ryan Ackerman was facilitating construction for the flood wall the same way he does his properties, including Citizens Alley, not meeting ADA requirements, there was no change for the sidewalks to be opened back up as they once were for the fair. Perhaps as the chair for the MACEDC for Economic Development for Safety. Being in a wheelchair, I rely on crossing at Corbett Field 13th Street to get back to the north side of Burdick. After Wagner Construction did not open the sidewalk, after construction, all other pedestrians can pass, not having to cross Burdick Expressway twice to get back to the side they were on. Still unsafe because construction did not create a safe route to cross after construction closed the sidewalk, again after 13th Street, having to go against traffic on Burdick Expressway. September 21st, 2025, the control cabinet for the pedestrian crosswalk was hit by a patrol car during a high-speed chase. I called the police station concerned. September 21st, 22nd, and 24th. I asked what happened. I didn't see anything on the media release from the police department. It wasn't fixed until October 17th, 2025, almost a month. During that period, a patrol car was passing and was the only one that didn't slow down as the other vehicles did. The electricians threw their arms up in disbelief and shock. There was no coordination from the city with construction, even though Ryan Ackerman from Ackerman Esfold is the administrator who works with the city on many projects to create a safe route. I had addressed the lack of support from Surf River Joint Board and Ryan Ackerman as the administrator, addressing safety and ADA requirements for the floodwall project in coordination with the city not being met. Today I strolled by the path east and west of 7th Street on the north side of the river, where I had addressed that it didn't meet ADA requirements. Rather than finishing the path, sidewalk closed signs were posted. Today, there was a snow blower with a sweeper that cleared past the sidewalk closed signs for all pedestrians, but not people in wheelchairs. Last winter, a foreman from Wagner stated that he was only to keep the sidewalks or the parking lot cleared for pedestrians. Action item 8.7, Highlands at North Hill, was also addressed November 17, 2025, at the City Council meeting. Alderman Fuller addressed 8,222 feet of white sidewalk in the subdivision and addressed the 385 feet of red sidewalk that is being held up that nobody wants. The city won't maintain, the park district won't maintain, and the 5 property owners will not maintain, forcing a developer to build a sidewalk that doesn't go anywhere. That nobody is going to maintain. May I have extra time, please? 30 seconds?
I'll make a motion for 30 seconds.
Thank you. How is it that no one is going to maintain it? That is no different than saying Ryan Ackerman didn't get an inspection for a permit for occupancy for Citizens Alley because he didn't ask for a permit for occupancy. How is this no different than parking at the back of a parking lot or parking right next to the building? The City of Minot needs a third-party contractor to oversee planning and inspections on ADA requirements. Thank you.
Our next speaker is, I believe it's Chris Brown, speaking on Minot PD ALPR.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Chris Brown, and I'm a homeowner and near lifetime resident of Minot. I'm here to speak on the Minot Police Department's proposal to authorize automatic license plate reader functionality on their existing police vehicles. I appreciate the opportunity the council has afforded for public comment to discuss this rather controversial issue. In short, I oppose both the currently discussed implementation of Axon license plate readers in police vehicles and the previously proposed installation of Flock automatic license plate readers on stationary structures. I think it is important to ask why exactly this technology is needed in our community. Police and their advocates have touted these emerging technologies as a means of increasing efficiency and lowering crime. Despite these seemingly definitive claims, the true effectiveness of automated surveillance on crime is still hotly debated, and the research is uncertain. For additional information from experts in the field, I highly recommend everyone familiarize themselves with the hard work being done by groups such as the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the American Civil Liberties Union. Importantly, what is not discussed in the above crime-fighting framework are the risks posed to the general public by the increased prevalence of AI-powered mass surveillance and data collection. Basic internet searches will show an abundance of news stories nationwide regarding the abuse of these technologies. Surveillance overreach and mass data collection have led to a number of communities throughout the United States looking to cancel pre-existing contracts with companies such as Axon and Flock. By authorizing these programs, you are trusting incredibly sensitive information to corporations with incredibly poor track records. Ultimately, my concern lies in the safety, security, and dignity of the people of Minot. I believe all of my neighbors should be afforded the right to privacy and the presumption of innocence in our community. In that belief, I oppose all efforts current and previous, to expand surveillance technologies by our local police departments. Thank you all for your time.
Our next speaker is, I believe it's Joan Hawbaker, also speaking on ALPR.
Mayor and Alderman, yes, that's what I'd like to talk about. And basically, I understand that this is supposed to help our police do their job more efficiently, maybe even in some cases quicker. But on the other hand, articles I've read, some of the downsides, read about a 12-year-old who was put in handcuffs because of something that they came up with from this, and it didn't go into the whole story, so I don't know what that is. Also, people being pulled over because their car looks like the car that they were looking at, not that the license plates matched. And from personal experience, that happened to me back in somewhere in the 80s. I was pulled over, police didn't say why, and I know I wasn't speeding because the traffic wasn't going fast enough for any of us to be speeding. And it was in the middle of town. They wouldn't tell me anything. They wanted me to just stop while they talked and looked at my car, looked inside without opening the doors, that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, what in heaven's name have I done? Now, I'm a pretty easygoing gal, and, okay. Finally, one of the policemen came over as they were all leaving, and he said, your car just looks like one that we're looking for. So I can handle that, but there's some people out in this community and other communities that can't handle that. They would be up in arms at being stopped for no reason. So some of that I object to, or that's some of the reasons I object to this. Also, I was reading on the last page in the policy manual that they had online. It says all persons accessing ALPR data outside the scope indicated above will be subject to disciplinary action. So basically, if anybody accesses that information without permission or a good reason, a good legal reason, is going to be subject to disciplinary action. But what does that mean? Does that mean they get a slap on the wrist? Are a demotion, a firing? Does it depend on why they accessed it? I just have to ask. That doesn't seem, if it's going to be a slap on the wrist and okay, we'll go on, then the next person's going to say, oh, well, that's all they got. I'm going to access it because I want whatever. And a slap on the wrist, I think they need to be a little more specific as to what could happen if you access it illegally, and also then hold to that and maybe specify. I don't know, you can't really say if for this reason this and this reason this, it's been done illegally. They need to have specifics, I think, in their policy. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Josiah Royce, also wanting to visit about license plate readers.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so glad that I'm not the only person who came to speak about this tonight. I was concerned that I just might be, especially because I was under the impression, based on what I saw in the news the other night, that it was going to be one of the items being discussed tonight. I thought it was going to get voted on and everything, but I guess that must be for a different time, or maybe later this very evening. I guess I'll have to wait and see. First off, I agree with everything that the previous two people came up and spoke about as far as concerns about these license plate readers. But I will point this out, as I pointed it out all year long regarding the concerns of flock, is that when you increase the power of government, you increase the opportunity for abuse from government. And I've also discussed this before, and I'll say it again, that the imbalance that we have today, where the government rides so high above the people when it's supposed to be, we keep you in check and you keep us in check. It's supposed to be a more level playing field. And as these things advance, as the power advances, the opportunity for abuse advances, and all this year, politics was a hot topic, both because of what's going on in Washington, D.C., and what was going on here in Minot with the special election race. I talked to thousands of people, lots of people that were supportive and agreed with my platform, lots that weren't, sure. But the point is, not one person out of the thousands that I spoke to said, you know what we need? We need some more control over us. We need someone to have cameras actively watching, tracking us. That's what we need. Said nobody ever. This is not, it is expensive. It's my understanding that the cars already have the technology installed, which is kind of too bad. But there's no demand for this from the people. And I want to remind everybody here that the whole purpose of government, city government, state government, federal government, is to serve the people. And so when the people are not pushing and demanding for this, why does it keep coming up? Why do we have to keep defending against this? I guess it's not a surprise. Ronald Reagan said it very well, that each generation has to defend freedom, but a lot of people don't understand what an attack on freedom looks like. And when your civil liberties are being chased down and backed down, it's never under the guise of, here, we're coming to take your liberties. It's always sugar-coated with a, here, this will make you safer. And it's been quoted many times earlier this year, those who trade, freedom for security will have neither and deserve neither. I think it was Benjamin Franklin who said that. I'm paraphrasing. But the point is, it's not something that the city, that the people of Minot are demanding. It's not something I've heard anybody request. When I was running for mayor, not one person said that not one person suggested anything of this matter, that it's what we need in Minot. And you want to talk about trust issues, thinking that we need to be monitored this closely. Let's turn the cameras around. Let's monitor the city that closely instead. Let's have those cameras turned on, watching all of our city employees, and have it on available online for us to log into and watch all the time, just like they can log in and watch us all the time. I don't think anybody here in this room wants to do that. Not even us out here. I don't want to watch that closely. I got better things to do. I wish you guys did too. And I know that you do. So I'll leave it at that. I'll keep it briefer than I usually do. I'm so grateful that there's other people. Thank you all for coming to speak on this matter. I look forward to speaking with you afterwards. I think it's healthy and good when people can come up here and share their thoughts for what needs to happen in the city. We all live here. Let's make it worthwhile. Thank you and good night.
Our next speaker is Melissa Ferris, who is talking about plate scanners.
I'm going to disagree with Josiah here. I would personally love to watch the cars go ahead and scan us in live time. As somebody who basically is part of the press, I'd like to know who I can find with whom. Whether it's the politician who is basically hanging out with people that might reveal why their votes are suddenly doing this or that surprise thing, to whether or not certain people are hanging out with people their spouse would not approve of, to where or how these business deals come from. This is all stuff that the public could use if we had access to the same thing that apparently our taxpayer dollars have already paid to equip squad cars with, and to give this money to corporations run by strangers who apparently are accountable to nobody if the Open Records Act don't allow us to watch this stuff the same way that the corporations do. I basically think the public should have the right to have this, especially people that are acting on behalf of the public. Every time I get told that I need to give this power to government or law enforcement for my safety, I'm reminded of a court ruling that happened before I was born regarding something called qualified immunity, which means that no public official is accountable or obliged to protect any member of the public. As long as their supervisor's satisfied, they're okay. So every time I'm told to give up this or that liberty for my safety or my good to the government, or this or that amount of money, whether it's for law enforcement, the armed forces, anything, qualified immunity basically means none of you have any obligation to protect me. So basically, that means that once I give up this liberty to you, I give it up for your protection and your power, not mine, not my privacy, not anything. So it definitely seems like more than a fair thing for to say that we should be allowed to turn these cameras around and watch 24/7. Who knows? Even if we can just catch law enforcement doing unauthorized donut breaks, at least maybe that'll help the public interest some. But if that kind of seems wrong to you, that we should have the right to have access to this information unredacted, especially involving public officials, how much more does it seem wrong for we, the public, to allow the government to have access to this information unredacted without warrants or oversights from we, the public? This is nothing that the government should have, not in a free nation. They're talking about how this is being misused in Europe to where people are going to jail now for comments they're saying on Twitter, that the law in Germany against insulting a person is really being enforced, even though in the U.S., Cohen v. California says it's a fundamental right that offensive speech is legal. I mean, it's that simple. And to be blunt, there's been more than one situation where everything's been perfectly legal for us to do, to associate with ourselves, and none of the government's business who we're associating with, when, where, or why. And yet at the same time, we're not allowed to say keep those things away from our property, keep those things off our space. And even if they are put in a public area, once again, would you like it if we had access to these public cameras, to these public resources, as our sunshine laws and as court rulings are saying that we should? I mean, this would be such an advantage to the public, because we'd finally get on redacted information about our public officials as far as it goes for us watching our government. But I don't like the idea at all, like I said one more time, about government watching our citizens. I think that this is too far. This is money that should not be spent. Basically, we are running out of money way quicker than I'm running out of time. We keep increasing our tax revenues, and the one-time things never seem to be one-time. And it's not inflation. Every time stuff like Doge or an auditor goes through, we're always finding some amount of waste or misuse. I'm for increasing oversight towards the government, but not towards the public. I think we, the public, can be trusted with our freedom, not so much government officials. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Tom Alexander, talking about facade improvement.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Tom Alexander. I'm the Executive Director of the Minot Housing Authority. Excuse me. The purpose of my appearance tonight is I ask for reconsideration on a December 1st partial city council vote on the Minot Housing Authority's request the facade improvement program. The vote was 3-3. Councilman Hayes was not in attendance that evening. I consider the facade improvement program a part of economic development for the city of Minot. And I believe on the evening of December 1st, there were a few items that were pulled for a future date for full city council to vote on. I believe our facade improvement should have that same opportunity. There are no rules within the facade improvement program excluding MHA from applying. We're in the recommended zone. We were fully approved by the Renaissance Zone Committee with approval to the City Council. Minot Housing Authority has been providing affordable housing for over 56 years in the city of Minot and Ward County. We have over 25 full-time staff in Minot who support our mission and work very hard to assist everyone that walks through our door. We literally have thousands of people walk through our door on an annual basis. I'm not saying we're the busiest business in downtown, but we got to be one of them. We are very limited on the funds for capital improvement needs. We budget very carefully on an annual basis to meet those needs. In many instances, we cannot meet those needs due to funding restrictions and/or emergency improvements that are needed. To be very honest, we need your help to improve our office building. My understanding that the prevailing side must allow for reconsideration. I'm not 100% sure how the full process would be, but I'd like to request the opportunity for the full city council to vote on this facade improvement request. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. I have one additional speaker's card from Jeremy Ensrud, I believe it is, also wishing to talk about ALPR. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jeremy Ensrud. I'm here to speak about LPR technology. I'm appearing as a citizen of the city of Minot, but I think it's also important to speak to my credentials. I'm a lifelong North Dakotan. I graduated from UND with a criminal justice degree, followed by UND Law School. I have lived in the Minot community since 2012. I have taught criminal law at the Law Enforcement Training Academy, located on the campus of Bismarck State College, for over 10 years. I also teach classes on drug investigations, Miranda rights, courtroom testimony, and search and seizure law. When it comes to LPR, I believe the Fourth Amendment and search and seizure law are implicated. I'm actually presenting on search and seizure law to the Minot Police Department tomorrow as part of their education efforts. To be clear, nobody asked me to speak to the council today. I was aware of some of the information that had been posted online and wanted to provide, in my opinion, an accurate assessment of the law. So first, the legality. There are 3 courts that provide legal guidance to what we do in Minot. First, the North Dakota Supreme Court, which issues decisions based on North Dakota law and constitution. Second, the 8th Circuit. This is the federal circuit court that North Dakota is in. It stretches from North Dakota down to Arkansas. Finally, the United States Supreme Court. I searched all of those courts, and there's not one instance of a judge suppressing evidence from an LPR or finding their operation to be unconstitutional. So while some individuals or advocacy groups may raise valid privacy concerns, any concerns as to constitutionality are misplaced. I mentioned privacy concerns, and I think that's very important to address. I don't think anyone on this commission would disagree with me that we are more surveilled as a population by both the government and private companies than we have at any point in our history. There's an argument that preventing the use of license plate readers by the Minot PD will help push back on that over-surveillance. This is a specious argument for a multitude of reasons. Will it really prevent LPR use in Minot? The answer is no. It will just prevent the Minot Police Department. All other government agencies would be free to use LPR in Minot, from the Ward County Sheriff's Office and the North Dakota Highway Patrol to the federal government. ICE is currently working across the country to remove illegal aliens. If ICE, Homeland Security, or Border Patrol want to use this technology in Minot, there is nothing this city council can do to prevent that. Further, private companies across the United States are collecting this data and selling it. In fact, that is exactly what happened in one of the cases cited online, United States v. Yang out of the 9th Circuit. So if this council voted to adopt a policy not allowing Minot PD to use LPRs, the residents of Minot will still be subject to surveillance, just through alternative methods. So what can this council do to protect the citizens of Minot from government overreach? By working collaboratively with the Minot Police Department on a system that includes safeguards. I reviewed Minot PD Policy 433, which was attached to the online meeting agenda. This policy appears to have good common sense restrictions, including persons approved to access LPR data under these guidelines are permitted to access the data for legitimate law enforcement purposes only and must enter a case number and written justification for each access request. Speculative searches are prohibited. Further, a minimum of an articulable reasonable suspicion or probable cause is necessary before accessing LPR data. Finally, all LPR data must be automatically deleted after 30 days unless tied to an active investigation. I think this policy does a lot to allay concerns this council may have. To the extent that it doesn't, I would anticipate the Minot PD would be open to further discussion. So what is the benefit? The benefit is that these are a force multiplier. Amber alerts or silver alerts. LPRs can help identify and track abducted children. I used to work with the task force in Minot. A very common scenario. Law enforcement develops intel that a residence is being used by individuals from Detroit to sell fentanyl. Obviously, we can put an undercover officer on that house 24/7 and track who comes and goes. That amount of manpower is costly, and drug dealers are generally on the lookout for someone in a vehicle parked out front taking down license plates all day. However, you can park an unmanned undercover car with an LPR and collect the data without the manpower hours or the likelihood of being caught. So in addition to promoting public safety, they can be cost effective. My final concern is to law enforcement morale. I've never worked with a cop that didn't want to solve a crime. LPRs are just one more tool to aid in a criminal investigation. If a cop is trying to decide where he wants to work, does he want to work for the agency that does everything it can to support the police department, or an agency that has one arm tied behind their back while trying to solve a crime? In conclusion, LPRs are legal and cost-effective. Privacy concerns can be addressed through a robust policy on their usage. I would urge this council to continue to allow Minot PD to use LPRs, and I would stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to the end of our personal appearances. Ma'am, you had your allotted time. I think we're moving on. Okay, so our next item is item number 8, which is miscellaneous and discussion items, and under that item we have a discussion of Axon LPR implementation. And I think there was somebody from PD was going to kick this off with some information or something. Is that correct? Chief Fry.
How you doing, Mayor, members of the council? Just wanted to address you quickly about LPR. As was just stated, it's not a tool that we're going to use to abuse the community. It is strictly, it will be strictly regimented, and we will make sure, based off of the current protocols that have to be utilized within the government functions, i.e. a case number. You can't access these information or anything about it without it being tracked. It's tracked in numerous different entities, and there's accountability. There's accounting that takes place at the state level. So there's more checks and balances with programs such as this. And I also want to make it very clear. I keep hearing the comparison with Flock. And this is not Flock. This is just a license plate reader. Is it gathering a license plate as we drive down the street? Yes. But when you sign on to have a license plate, you say that you're going to have one affixed to the front, to the back, visible for the police to be able to review and record. That's part of the North Dakota Department of Transportation. You sign on when you ask for, you give up that privacy. If you're on private roads, Flock is something that's on on poles and what. This has nothing to do with it. They are so polar opposite of one another. That's what I want to make sure that we understand. This is a tool for us to help the community. My goal, ma'am, you're going to have to stop, okay? Please. No.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, Chief. She's interrupted him or made comments 3 times while he's been up here talking. Could we either have her sit down or be removed from here so he can finish?
You're not recognized by the body, ma'am. You can't be speaking. Okay, if you're...
Yeah, everybody could hear you.
Everybody can hear you. You can't be whispering to your device. You can record all you want, but you need to be quiet so that the speaker who's recognized can do his job.
Let me get back to where I was. This is not flock. This is a tool for us to help our community. Just one and additional tools. All of us have cell phones, this or that has been brought up about the information is recorded. To me, I don't care. I'm not so concerned about all the other recordings. I'm looking at this data that will allow law enforcement, that's not stored. It's not gathering personal information. It's gathering license plates that are already signed over to be on public roads for us to already have access to for 30 days. And then it's gone. You have to have a search warrant to go any further. You have to have a probable cause to move any further. You have to have a case number to even look into it. So when license plate reader, and I've used it, I am a personal user of it in Minneapolis for quite a while. And I can tell you what happens when you drive by or drive down a street. The screen lights up like a Christmas tree. If it's a stolen car, someone that has a warrant for a homicide or whatever, you name it. These things are helpful tools. I want to know if I pull up behind a vehicle that has somebody that's wanted for a horrendous crime, that's something that we should know. Everyone can say, my rights, my rights. My officers are placing their lives on the line. One of the speakers brought up an incident of officers they're doing certain stops to her and whatnot. This also eliminates the uncertainty of those types of stops. This information, we're just not pulling out of the air. This has been entered through NCIC and other state-run programs and other federal programs. That information is dumped in, and that is what's visible to us, nothing else. It's for us with that reasonable suspicion to then move into the true investigation. This is not about violating anyone's rights, because we are going about trying to find a tool that's going to help this community. Taking it away is something that will be detrimental to our process and our progress. Do you have anything, Deputy Chief?
So I just wanted to touch on one more thing with the Axon system, and as we discussed back in May when we initially talked about the flock, it is a different system. This is one that's in the cars. The Axon system is a little bit different in the sense that when an officer makes a traffic stop, there's a safety component to it. It's a piece of equipment that we have the ability to keep our officers safe with. For instance, if that person is wanted for a homicide, the flock system will tell us immediately. Whereas, I'm sorry, Axon. I'm sorry, I got backwards on that. It's not the flock. The Axon system will tell us immediately. So it lets that officer know, hey, you're in danger here. So for that, to that respect, I mean, it is an important thing to our officers. It's a piece of equipment that we have. It's not going to cost the city any more. It's embedded in a system, our in-car camera system, our Axon system, and it allows them to know, hey, there's somebody there who could be dangerous. So we definitely don't want to have a piece of equipment that could protect them and then not use it. So from our perspective, that's kind of how we see Axon, the LPR system, and our system. We worked in May with Alderman Pittner, who created some amendments to our policy that we put forward. That policy was amended to have extra safeguards for the community to ensure that we're using the system correctly, properly. Those amendments were voted unanimously in by the council. This today is just us coming back and showing you what that policy is, exactly what was voted on. I mean, that's what the intention of today was. It was to bring it up and be straightforward with the council. We didn't want to operate without coming to the council first and making sure you knew. And I think I mentioned that. I wouldn't just steamroll it in. But The council already agreed to the policy. The policy is something that was created to protect the community, and I think we did a good job of coming to a good balance on that. I've heard many times it said, a good contract is one that nobody likes. Well, I can tell you most officers don't love our policy, which is probably good. It means it's restricting our use. So I just wanted to make sure we kept that in mind in your decision, in your decision to move forward with the system.
Okay, that should be about it. I'm ready for questions.
Alderman Olson.
Thank you. So, Chief, can you waylay any fears that a lot of this information is going to Axon, and Axon's going to just have all of this information about all of the people that are living in Minot?
No.
Where's the information going? Where is it being stored?
It actually goes to the state, and it's in like a repository for 30 days. It's held in the server, and then it's gone. Axon is actually just the creator of all of this. And when you look at it for what it's worth, Axon, we have our Axon body cameras. Someone mentioned they would love to be able to see. Well, we're on camera all the time. When we are on duty, we're on camera. And so it's in our cars, it's on us. When we're moving, everything about us is recorded, and that's okay. I want it to be like that. I want us to have open, transparent conversations. And we're not saving this. The information is not saved for more than 30 days, and it is strictly just the license plate. It's not everyone's personal, private information. It has nothing to do with that.
Thank you.
Alderman Blessum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Chief, a few questions. So let's start here. Right now, one of the concerns that people have raised is that, we're surveilled every day, right? We got cell phones. I got mine right here. In addition to that, we got credit card data. We've got all that kind of information. So right now today, if you wanted to use cell phone data or credit card data in an investigation, how do you go about that? Are you able to do it with a case number, or do you need a warrant?
You said credit card?
Credit card or cell phone?
Well, for a cell phone, it depends on if it's in an emergency. We make a phone call, but it's still with the case number, and then we follow up with the investigation. Credit cards, same thing. We are going to do some type of affidavit to get it. But what you're referring to right now, maybe I'm being a little presumptuous, but that is being used in a crime, and I see where you're headed. But this is, you've already signed that those plates would be monitored. When you sign to get your license plate through North Dakota DOT, I just looked it up again, you are signing that we, police, have the right to be able, you have to have a front and a rear plate, and that we have the right to review your plate.
Okay, so there's some legal issues that would have to get worked out through the state, and some of the legislators that I know, we might have some conversations again. But the fact remains the same. And you noted an important point. Number one, because I saw this happen in the dispatch center, because I was down there. They had a call that came in, and they suspected that something was wrong because they lost the call. They were able, by determining that it was an emergency, to go and track where that cell phone went and to make sure that they could get a hold of them again. But that's an exception. And emergency situations are an exception. So for this data, for whether it's credit card data or phone data to be used in the way that we're intending this license plate data to be used, it requires a warrant.
It's not
Today,
the same.
it's going to require a judge to sign and say, yes, you've met all the requirements of the law. This data doesn't have that same high standard. This has a standard that says, if I read the policy correctly, I believe it warrants looking at it, and my supervisor warrants looking at it. That's all it's going to take. And so I think that just to go after another point real quick, the idea that we've already passed a set of requirements that go into a policy in no way authorizes, in my mind, anything that we're doing. There are safeguards, and as we head towards a decision on whether to implement this, and I want to be clear, I think I heard you say you don't want to lose this, but I think we weren't saying that exactly correctly, because these aren't turned on today. I see Dale shaking his head. So we're not losing anything. We're losing a future ability that you think is powerful and is a good thing. But I want to be clear on that. We're not losing something that's in use today.
No, it's not. Go ahead.
Okay.
So no, the Axon system is not active at this point.
Correct. Okay. And so with that in mind, what our policy as written right now, which yes has gone through one of our readings, and believe me, if I think we're headed towards a yes answer, I will continue to push on the policy. I will, to try to get it as restrictive as I possibly can, because I think that's the best alternative to saying no to this altogether. I think everybody here knows where I stand on this. This is not a hard question for me. Just to address a couple other things, Chief, there's been an idea that, there's great uses, right? One of them was mentioned a little bit earlier, silver alerts, right? We've got a senior who sort of wanders away in their car. I've had this with family members in the past where they vanish. Family goes by to see where they're at and they're not there. They can make a call to dispatch. You guys can open a case. You can go take a look and see if you can find that license plate. You could do the same exact thing if they have a cell phone under the emergency doctrine that we've already talked about. You could already track their cell phone and find out where they're going. There are alternatives to this that are already in place. Same thing with a child who's been abducted. If that dad or mom who's not authorized to have that child goes, we could run the same emergency run on their cell phone. And the nice thing is, be better than what we've already identified as a flaw in this system, which is that we're not sure that it's even that person in the car. We would know where dad is by his cell phone under the emergency doctrine your dispatchers already have right now. We're painting over a couple of things that are billed as the most important uses that already have better alternatives today. Go ahead, Chief.
You guys just have to know him and I go through this all the time. So we're making some assumptions. We're making assumptions that this person has a cell phone. We're making assumptions that these people have this, that this person have that. That's a luxury I don't have. When an emergency is taking place, I don't have. My officers don't have the luxury of assumptions. If it's your family members or anybody out here, you will be climbing a pole trying to figure out everything possible for my officers to figure out where your person is. And let me tell you, if it's a small child, they ain't got a phone. If it's this, they don't have that. Someone has dumped their phone. They've already gotten rid of, or they have a burner phone. There's so many scenarios. It's not just that simple. Law enforcement is not as simple as CSI on TV, period. We are the voice, we are the visible presence that will help you when the world falls apart. The very essence of law enforcement is restoring order from chaos. And chaos is when you call 911. I don't know how many of you have been in this room or have gone to someone where their child is missing or something has gone wrong. It's me that's going to show up, and now the wheels are turning. Because as a commander, when a child's been abducted from a stolen car or carjacking, trust me, the time is ticking. And I have to do everything I can within X number of minutes. I don't have hours, I got minutes to put every resource that we have into locating what's taking place. I don't have the time, I don't have that capacity for assumptions. Number two, this is a tool, no different than when I was on mounted patrol, when I've been on any other unit, or when you're talking about our drones, anything. Tools, tools, tools. Yes, we can talk about policies, we can work through things. My biggest deal comes down to, don't take away the ability for folks to be able to do what we need to do to take care of you. That's the whole key to all this. I'm standing up here trying to tell everybody, my job is to take care of you. That's what emergency services is. So
So,
Yes,
so
sir.
Chief, if I continue then, so how far does it go though? So, as I mentioned before, we can call up a couple legislators and let's start talking law. Would you advocate for a little device like State Farm Insurance could give you that would go in your car and identify where you are at any one time?
You lost me on this.
So would you advocate for the state to have a law rather than a license plate that gives you a little tag, a little keychain that you must keep in your car at all times? Because then we'll be sure where that car is. And it's not about license plate readers.
Alderman, with all due respect, I can't go into the what ifs and whatnots. I'm sticking
Chief,
to
it's about tools though. Okay,
tools.
that would be a tool. That
But
would be a
think about
step.
what State Farm has. They have that little chip in there, right? That monitors your mileage and gives you a discount. We're going to go there. What else? But we allow
Is
it
that the next tool? Is my question. Is
I
that the
don't know.
next tool that you guys want?
for us.
Yes.
Why would I
not?
need that?
Well, you
Why would-
need the license plate reader though.
But
You
why
need to
would
know
I
where the
need-
car is.
But why would I ask for something to be placed in? All I've said, all we're doing is monitoring what you've already signed off on to be on the road, front and rear plates. You've already
Chief-
signed off on it.
Chief, do you believe that the people of North Dakota understand that they've signed off to be tracked by their license plates everywhere they go in every community they drive into?
There's
Do
no
you
such
believe
thing.
that?
Wait a minute. There's no such thing as being tracked everywhere you go. That's a false claim, because that is not what this is about. This is about my officers as they're going down the street. If there is something with this vehicle, it gives reasonable suspicion at that point. All it is reading the plate. That's it. And saying, this plate was involved in this. It's no different than Councilmember Samuelson wanting more teeth in a law that ordinance that we just passed because of certain things. Crime, laws, all these things are taking place, and we need the tools in order to truly enforce them and to keep this community safe. That's why we passed that ordinance. That was the purpose.
So Chief, would you advocate for a system that had no recording ability and simply was a live bump against the database to do the live portion of it that you're talking about? Is that good enough to meet the needs you're looking for?
No, and I'll tell you why. For simple, that 30 days allows us, because we still, if there was a crime committed within X, I'm just going to give you whatever area. We're going to say Burdick. If there was some type of crime that was committed in that area, now my officers would have the opportunity to say, were there any plates that matched this for this? That's when you go in and you start, that's where the court documents come in and whatnot, to start looking further. But that information is stored for 30 days so that we have the ability to actually complete the investigation. Because that's what you've asked us to do. If you look at it, I haven't pushed out all the investigations that have been solved and the crimes that have been solved lately, but there's a ton of investigative work, solid investigative work taking place. And since I've got here, what a phenomenal police department you have. And I'm going to say this openly. If this department, you have to trust. You trusted that I would do the right thing, reviewing all the information and helping to move this department forward. That is the same thing I'm trusting with the council to help us to do it and to help this community, period.
And Chief, along those lines, I hope that you're seeing that I'm a partner. Okay, we've had votes in front of us to try to give you the tools that you need. I've been very clear that this is a tool that takes a step too far for me. One last question before we let others talk more than I am here. When your officers pull up behind a vehicle right now, because I think it's a compelling argument to say I want the officers safe when they pull up behind a vehicle. When they pull up behind a vehicle, before they leave their patrol vehicle, do they call in and run the plate today? We know whether there's a person with a warrant that they just pulled over, correct? Because we call in the plate while we're in the car still.
Not necessarily. So here's how I'm going to tell you what happens. When you're driving with LPR, you could be going east, it could be going west, and it's reading plates, and that's it. And all of us, and poof, it pops up on your screen, like I said, like Christmas tree. Wanted for X, possible in this vehicle. Wanted for this, stolen vehicle, so on and so forth. Then they call it in and say, I'll be trying to check up on X. So it's not just as simple as this and this. It's no different than the tools that you, as an accountant, you're not using the same stuff you used 30 years ago. You have advanced in what you're using as an accountant. All of us are. They submit taxes via online now. Say encryption, but those have been broken. When you start to look at what this is, it's tools. I started police work in 1991 in Minneapolis. Guess what? We are so far removed from what I started with to where we are now. No, the founding fathers couldn't have imagined this. No one could have imagined, except for all of us old enough to remember the Jetsons. We're living it right now. So that's all I got, sir.
So again, just to be clear on that point, when our officers pull up behind a vehicle because they have pulled it over for whatever reason they've chosen, they're going to run that plate before they're putting themselves in any danger. I want to make sure that people understand we are not making you worse off than we are today.
Yes,
They're
sir.
already running those plates when they pull over a suspect in a vehicle.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's where I'm going to work through this with you, okay? And I tell the folks out here all the time, people know enough about police work to be dangerous. I know enough about building a wall and a structure to be dangerous. I'm not a construction worker. When my officers turn on a vehicle and that plate has come up, they've called the plate, they said, I've got this potential suspect. Or if they go to pull it over, yes, they're starting to call it in. But if it's something that's a danger to them, they need those extra seconds. You see it all the time. If you have any sort of law enforcement memorial or law enforcement problem where all officers have been killed around the country, it's those split seconds. I've lost partners. I've lost 3 partners way back when, before we had technology, that if they had it, they'd still be here. That is just a reality. And I can pull them up for you and show you. You need those seconds. Those seconds matter to my life. Maybe not in the civilian world, but in law enforcement's world, seconds matter, decisions matter.
Further, Alderman Pittner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No questions, Chief, so if you want to take a seat, I can get through this. But we were all emailed by Suzanne Watney, the mother of late Officer Mitchell Watney, today. And I would just like to read her statement into the record. So, in support of implementing automated license plate readers, it is my belief that the public discussion surrounding new technology is both healthy and necessary. Concerns about privacy deserve thoughtful consideration, but they must be weighed against established constitutional law, public safety needs, and the responsibility of local government to use effective tools to protect its residents. As our city enters a period of renewed leadership with new police chief, deputy chief, and city manager, we truly have an opportunity to modernize responsibility rather than retreat from progress. Automated license plate readers are not an untested or radical innovation. They have been with us for decades. They are widely used across the nation and have been repeatedly examined by courts, legislatures, and law enforcement agencies. The question before us is not whether privacy matters, because it does, but whether ALPR technology violates constitutional rights. The answer, based on long-standing legal principles, is no. Some examples of why they do not track individuals, assess personal or private data, reveal driver identity, medical information, or financial records. Those are left to the truly invasive modes of the tracker world, digital electronics and biometrics. Furthermore, I believe that advantages of ALPR technology far outweigh the disadvantages, such as enhanced law enforcement capabilities, which helps our officers quickly identify vehicles of interest, improving public safety by helping to deter crime and support vital investigations. Operational efficiencies increase due to the automation, which streamlines workflows for police and city managers, freeing resources for other critical tasks. Progress requires both caution and courage. Implementing ALPR tech reflects commitment to public safety, constitutional integrity, and responsible innovation. Supporting this initiative does not mean abandoning privacy. It means acknowledging the legal reality that observing public information is not surveillance and that safeguarding our community is a core function of local government. If ALPRs prove effective, Minot will join other cities that have successfully used this tool to protect their residents and support their officers. If they do not, the city retains the ability, like other cities have, to reassess and adjust course. The true risk lies not in moving forward thoughtfully, but in allowing fear of innovation to prevent us from using lawful, proven tools to serve the greater good. Thank you for your consideration and for your commitment to our safety and future of our community. The men and women in blue, who have always will hold the most important place in my heart, Suzanne Watney. So again, I just wanted to read that into the record, and again, we've had this discussion before, and I appreciate the discussion here. I think it's healthy. I think it's necessary, and I guess maybe I'll look to city staff. Where are we at with this? Can this be turned on? Do we have to take another vote on this? Do we have to take a vote? I know we voted on the policy. Where are we at? Just for clarity, I guess of the council, there seems to be some confusion on that.
And I was going to ask the same question, Mayor, Alderman Pittner, members of the council. So it's under miscellaneous and discussion items, which is not traditionally a place on our agenda where we take direction from the council. Typically, that's reserved for action items. City Manager Joyce isn't here today. I don't know if he's provided direction to Finance Director Lakefield on what the expectation was on this matter. PD may have some guidance on what the expectations were here. I guess going into this, when I see miscellaneous and discussion, I think of this as exactly that. The council can provide feedback to the police department on what it would like to see and direction on the policy, how they would like to operate it, but.
Mayor Janser and members of the council, yes, that's correct. It was a miscellaneous and discussion for a reason, because the policy had already been voted on and approved. There was no other action that we could put it under an action item to take. There could be a motion to stop its use, which was the reason we needed to bring it back, so that the council knew that we were going to move forward with it, and then they could make any appropriate action at this point before we do. Does that make sense? Are there any questions? Or?
Yeah, so, I mean, it strikes me that what we have here, we've had good discussion and obviously some input during personal appearances. And we're also short a member tonight, so it seems to me like the next step would be to, in fact, bring this back as an action item, and then we deal with it.
The problem that we ran into, Mayor Janser, was that there was no action to be taken. It had already been approved, and it couldn't be unless it was the next meeting and a person who voted for it could request reconsideration. We're well beyond that at this point, so that was one of the difficult parts to action item.
Just to be clear, if you wanted to turn these on tomorrow, Dale, like I say, they're not on now. If you wanted to turn them on tomorrow, are you under the understanding that you could turn them on with this policy in place?
That's correct, but again, at the time, I made indication that I would notify the council before I did that, so.
Yep.
So I want to make sure that we're clear, though. So what was, I need to understand our actions from May. I understand that we were talking about flock at that point.
Yep.
But my understanding was that the council needed to approve these being turned on. And Dale, I appreciate you being a man of your word. I do, very much. Thank you for not just doing it. Because if that's your understanding and it just could be done, this is the right step, and I appreciate that. But I think the council owes the public, if we're going to do this, we owe the public an affirmative vote saying we are doing this. Not, oh, the policy kind of went and so it sort of kind of can go. That's not good enough in my vote. If you all are going to vote yes to authorize this, I want a yes vote on the record.
And I guess with respect to that, and because I think the discussion about the flock system and this policy were sort of at the same time point, and this is a different piece. I mean, it's a different technology. It does the same thing, it reads license plates, but the way it works is different and the implementation is different than flock, obviously. So I think we do need to have clarity on this.
Mayor Jansen, if I may. So the initial, in May, what occurred was that the policy was separated from a flock discussion. Flock discussion was a finance discussion and actually making the agreement with flock. And the policy, and where this differs, is we already own Axon. We already own the program. We already own the software. So it was a different situation. My thought on this, and maybe the city attorney can weigh in, was this would give the council the ability to make a motion to disallow the use, and then it could be voted on. But procedurally wise, I don't know if that's the proper procedure or not.
Can you just articulate that one more time?
Well, I mean, what I'm trying to say is that by bringing it up in this, it gives the council the ability to make a motion saying that they do not want LPR used, and then a vote could be made on that, or a motion to say we would like to restrict this further.
I mean, the council can entertain whatever motion and direction that it wants to at this particular time. So if you want to entertain a motion to provide some direction to the police department in the interim, if you want to add it to the first agenda in January, we can certainly do that as well.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Olson?
I would make a motion to put this on the first meeting agenda in January. I think it's the second, I'm not exactly sure. I'd like to have a 7-member council to be able to vote on that, and I think that would be the wisest decision to make. So please add it to the agenda item on January 2nd.
If.
I'll second.
Oh, 5th, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on that?
Not on that, but I do have some more questions when we get back to the other portion, after we vote on Lisa's motion, please.
So Mr. Mayor, with this, I guess I'd like some direction from staff. I have adjustments that if we do end up with okaying this, I have adjustments that I'll want to make in this policy, or at least bring them before. Should we plan to do that on the 5th as well? And take all of those up then, or would you like direction now to prepare before then, is my other question. Because I could bring some of those now and get some of it taken care of. I mean, they may get voted down, which that solves that pretty easily, so.
Alderman Blessum, I think, based on tonight's experience too, and it actually turned out fine, but I think if there are adjustments that you wish to propose, it would be good to submit them and have them out to the other council members in advance so that we're not.
I don't think we can, right?
If
It'd
I
have to
may.
go on the agenda that way.
Yes, Mayor Janser, Alderman
Okay.
Blossom. My recommendation is if you do have a list of changes that you'd like to propose tonight, I mean, we can certainly take them down now, or if you prefer to publish them in an email too, we can publish that to the agenda when it comes to that.
Okay, so
that
yeah, I
item
think
as well.
that makes sense, Mr. Mayor, and that could be done beforehand as long as it's attached to the agenda, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Now, Alderman Fuller.
Thank you. Chief, if you got a sec, sorry, I just, if we're going to talk about this in January, I do have some questions that I guess, or some things that I'd like to talk about with you. So number one, when you were talking with Alderman Blessum, you said there's no personal information attached to this. So when the license plate reader scans my license plate, it doesn't tell you what vehicle I'm driving and that I'm the owner of that vehicle?
No, not unless there's what's considered information that comes in, say, from NCIC or from some other type of state entity that is plugged it in that says that vehicle is stolen or that vehicle is involved in X, or that plate, let me back up, sorry. That plate was involved in this. And so that's all it is. If you and I are just driving down the street, nothing. It's not gonna pick up my plate. It's not gonna pick up any of your.
It is though. It's
It did.
already put in the database, chief. It's in the database
It's
for 30
already
days.
in a database. Your plate, when you sign for it, it's in a database.
No, when you drive by me in front of Sammy's, it prints it into the database saying Mike was in front of Sammy's at
It
this
does-
time on this day.
It doesn't say
It
Mike.
says my plate.
Whatever
my
your
plate.
plate is, and that's what I'm getting at. It's not about you as the individual. It is about whatever, if you were involved in or that vehicle plate was involved in a crime, period. If it was involved in something. Outside of that, no.
So as many people said online, as long as you're not doing anything wrong, you got nothing to hide, right? That's the mentality of this city for certain people. As long as you're not doing anything wrong, it's fine if they put the stuff in the database. Don't worry about it. It'll only be there for 30 days. And oh wait, shoot, somebody did do something by Sammy's, and Mike's car drove by Sammy's. And suddenly you guys will show up at my office and say, hey Mike, your car drove by Sammy's at this time, and there was an issue. No reason to suspect me whatsoever other than that my car was nearby and it's in a database. That's the policy right now, as long as one officer and a supervisor agree.
What you're referring to, first off, is reasonable suspicion. If that plate was involved in anything.
Oh,
First,
just that I was there. Just
No.
that I was there.
No. That is so false.
So
And
didn't
what
you
you're
just say that
you're
you could
telling-
make the connections if I'm going down Burdick? Wasn't that the idea? All the cars going down Burdick now could be seen to see, were you also by the house in Northeast Minot? That connection is what the police
The
work is.
connection is if your vehicle plate was involved in something. If it was not involved in anything, I am not going to go in. I am not going to be bothered with your plate, period. Second, you said something about online. I don't go online. I don't know all those online chatters for that because I don't want that kind of noise in my head. What I'm looking for is how do I take care of the citizens of Minot, period. That is it, because all the rest of it is noise. We are looking at how we take care of you. We're not out here violating civil rights. Your plate is already on the road. Anybody, she's videotaping. That's fine. That's her right. It's anybody's right to record that plate. You're worried about us. It's more folks out there recording all of your stuff. We're the ones that are actually with restrictions. It's the other folks I'm more worried about that have none.
Okay. Thank you for that. On to the second part, I guess. We keep referring to this as a tool, and I get it. It is a tool. But with most tools in history, when they're first invented, they're used for specific whatever you want, right? In this case, it would be to read license plates or whatever it is. But history always shows that those tools advance and they're used for other things that they aren't supposed to be. And I'm going to give you two examples. One of them is sales tax. We put a sales tax out there 30 years ago that was supposed to sunset and go away, and here we're still dealing with the same sales tax today. And then the other one would be the Patriot Act. The federal government put it into place after 9/11, and they've used it to spy on Americans. So I mean, those are certain tools that we put into place to keep us safe or to expand our city or whatever, but we keep inventing new uses for them. And I think that's where a lot of the people get scared here, Chief. I mean, like, I'm driving around Minot. You guys catch my license plate. Let's say I haven't done anything, but something happens and you go in and you start looking and you see, Fuller was there, Fuller was there, Fuller was there. I mean, let me ask you this. I don't want everybody knowing where I'm at all the time. Not that I'm hiding anything, but it's the same reason you guys don't kind of show the public where the police cars sit all the time, right? You don't want us to know where you're at all the time. It's not the right thing to do. And I think that's where people get a little bit worried and a little bit concerned about being tracked. Whether that's true or not, that's the mentality and the fear that's out there. Now, one thing I did read or was reading in preparation for this was about data breaches. Has there been any kind of issue across the country on data breaches on this information? Because I did read that there was 2, and as we all know, every bank, insurance company, and everything else in the world today has had data breaches. So what happens if that information gets out and it's used by people that aren't supposed to have it?
I don't know.
Okay, fair
Here's the
enough.
thing.
Fair enough.
I can't speak on speculations.
I know.
I can't speak on what the future is going to hold for everything. You guys are asking for scenarios that are in no way can be talked about right now. We're talking about tools and abilities. Every one of us have careers, and every one of us have jobs that have moved and progressed over the decades. Again, I go back to none of us are doing the same things in our professions that we started out with. And yes, are there issues with everything? Of course. But that's where the safeguards, that's where the checks and balances, that's where we work together to make sure that we're okay. But to just, for lack of better terms, throw the baby out with the bathwater, what are we doing? That is what I'm referring to. It's not about that we can do, it's going to be perfect. I cannot guarantee you that. No one can guarantee perfection in just about anything. Because just when you think, you brought up credit cards. How many breaches are there with that? You bring up this. How many breaches are with that? We do the best we can.
Okay, two quick things, and then I'll let you go home and
Oh,
have your
Lord.
bourbon. One, you said, and Mr. Ensrud and one of the other folks talked about it, that Ward County and the Highway Patrol have this. And I know some of the uses for this would be to find missing persons, right? Whether it be a senior or a child or a stolen car. Do we not have the ability to talk to those other agencies and say, hey, you know what, we got a missing person. Have you guys seen this license plate anywhere on your readers?
We can talk to them.
Okay.
It's not that, here's the thing, we're not going to sit up here and tell you that our law enforcement partners, that we don't work with them and so on and so forth. If they have a tool and they're out driving around, of course, the more eyes and ears that are out there trying to do what we need to do, that is what's protecting the city. And oh, by the way, Highway Patrol, highway. County, county. City, city. That is your definitive. We are primarily looking at what's taking place in the city of Minot. You can't count on others to cover for you. It's no different than you can't count on someone else to do your part in whatever job you're doing. There's no way that I can expect for the county to cover the city except in an emergency or if they're nearby to help. But that is not a guarantee.
And then just last thing, looking at the policy, the last page under 433.5, section F, it says any persons accessing ALPR data outside the scope indicated shall be subject to disciplinary action. Chief, if they're going to knowingly go in and use that, why?
Always up to termination. Everything
should be just termination.
No, you can't do that because things happen. There's safeguards placed in there, and everything is always up to because you have to do the investigation. People have rights even within their job scope.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Samuelson.
Thank you. I probably have two things. First of all, I would like to get an answer to Mike's question. So I'm going to phrase it maybe a little bit different. If I leave here tonight and I'm going down Burdick and I get picked up for speeding, is that cop going to know who I am before he comes up to my car? Is he going to run that plate?
If he pulls
If I
you
get
over,
pulled over, is that police officer going to run my plate before he comes up to the car?
I'm going to give you a scenario, but I got to answer your question with it.
I agree. In most cases.
I'm going to give you your answer. You asked for, will they know? The answer is sometimes. Sometimes. Because there is no definitive all the time. If they're pulling up behind you and you stop abruptly, the answer to that is absolutely not. They don't have time. They're waiting on dispatch. They're calling it in, and now dispatch is telling them something in their ear as they're there. And those are the split seconds that we're talking about. There's other things. If you're going in opposite directions, then they don't have that opportunity.
So, Mr. Fry, I really appreciate it. And there's so many different things with everything that we're talking about. There's so many variables. Again, if I get pulled over for speeding, The police officer's behind me, not going the opposite direction. Is he gonna know who I am before he comes up to my vehicle?
And
If
I'm
I
gonna give
pull
you the
over.
answer again, maybe.
Okay.
That is a maybe.
Okay, another question. If I'm driving down the street and you got that reader on there, will it tell whether my car is registered or not? Will it flag a plate that says no registration?
I don't believe so. Does that? I've never seen that, so.
Why not?
So you can, so this is, the difference here is this is not, the system is not running your license plate. It's comparing it to a list of plates. So no, it will not know your registration. It's not saying this
that-
belongs to Scott Samuelson.
No, that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
If I'm driving down the road and that is reading all the license plates and it comes up and said that car's not registered, will it tell that?
It will
Not
not.
me, it's just not registered.
It will not, no. If it's not a license plate that is on that list, it will not hit anything because it doesn't run the plate. Again, it's not running the plate against anything except for a list of plates that we have set aside saying these are plates that they're looking for. And there's rules on how we set those aside. If you're a homicide victim, you'd be on that list, but it does not run your plate. So the system itself is not running your plate. And just to give you a little bit of your question that you asked before, will that officer know? I can tell you from experience, very rarely did I ever know who the person was when I was going up to the car because it takes too long for that information to come back. We're talking human. You're calling it into a dispatcher. Now, if the dispatcher sees a hit, they're going to let me know as soon as they can. But it's human error we're talking about. It takes time. If dispatch is busy, if they're on a call, they're going to put that plate into a queue and run it as soon as they're done. So it's not instantaneous. It's not going to be a situation where they know immediately. Very, very rarely did I ever know as a police officer on the road, and I would suggest that is true today, the name of the person when I was going up to the window, unless I was looking for that person.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Do I need to say?
Nope.
Okay.
I just wanted to address one thing that was mentioned during public appearances, if I could.
go ahead.
Okay, just one real basic thing. It was mentioned that our vote or the action that we'll take, why would we not be a part of the solution? Ward County's got it, the state's got it, county's got it, everybody's got it, right? Well, I only get to vote on one answer. I get to vote on one thing in front of me. If I could vote on the Ward County using this technology, I'd vote no. If I could vote at the state of North Dakota on getting rid of it completely in the state, I'd go down there and vote no. If I could lobby the members on the Transportation Committee the last session, which is exactly what I did, to not expand BCI's use of this statewide, I would go and stand before them and tell them that I don't believe in this. I can only do the piece that I can do. And that's what I would urge my colleagues to do. Don't get hung up on whether others are already doing this or whether we're just a small cog in the wheel. We're a small cog in the wheel of all federal funding, state funding. We do this stuff all the time. We make our decision for our community right in front of us. And I believe that most of us do that every single time. I don't think we're thinking of those big things necessarily. We're focused on what's in front of us. And this is about what's best for Minot. And I think we're stepping over a line in the sand here if we move forward with this. So I appreciate Alderwoman Olson pushing to have this in January where an affirmative vote I hope would be taken if we are to implement it. I think that's the right way to do it rather than sort of letting it become policy without a vote. I think that's a better way to do it, and I appreciate that.
Alderman Pittner.
I'll just give some of my thoughts on this. Again, we talked a lot about individuals, missing children, silver alerts. Well, what about the BCI, tip that there's, 1,300 fentanyl pills coming into our community from Mexico or from Vegas or from wherever, and they get into our community and they, again, I think I saw today, weapon of mass destruction is fentanyl is now going to be classified as because of the harm that it's doing to our communities. Again, this is a tool. This is technology. This is where we're at. And again, looking online, you see a lot. And we heard it last time we had this discussion. 1984, George Orwell. This is where we're headed. George Orwell was not against, in the book and the principle was not against surveillance. It was against unchecked, unbridled overreach of power. So a well-constructed ALPR policy in place is the exact opposite of that. And that's what we're here to do, that if we do implement this, and again, it'll be up for discussion and we'll vote on it. That was why I worked with staff previously to put a policy that was in place that protected the privacy of citizens, but also gave a tool, like mentioned by Suzanne Watney, to help the men and women in blue, that help keep our community safe. So again, I agree with you, Mike. We do what we can at this body and you know, for the community and the power that we have. But again, I don't want to get lost in the weeds. This is a tool to you know, a force multiplier, as they say, as we've heard it referenced to. And personally, I'm in favor of it. Are there additional you know, are there additional items we can place into the policy? Sure, and I'm willing to have that conversation, and I look forward to it. So.
Okay, we have had a lot of discussion, a lot of information has been presented, and I think we have a direction going forward for January.
There was a motion and a second to place this on
Oh, okay, thank you,
the
Clerk.
agenda for January 5th.
That was Alderman Olson's motion
And bless him.
Bless him second. Okay, let's go ahead and fire our machines back up here and vote on that motion then.
The motion passed unanimously.
All right, we're in the home stretch here for the evening.
Mr. Mayor, before you get to liaison reports, I think that we should address Mr. Alexander's request to reconsider the facade loan vote that we took at our last meeting.
Okay.
So a point of order to the city attorney, what are the options available?
So I believe this was addressed at our last meeting. Let me pull up the minutes.
City Clerk?
So it's my understanding that this was a 3-3 vote. The dissents were Alderman Blessum, Alderman Fuller, and Alderman Samuelson, being that this was not a full council that day.
So the typical rule in these situations is you have the next succeeding meeting or the meeting that was voted upon for the majority vote to do a motion to reconsider. So this would fall within that time frame. The majority that was victorious on that vote would have been the minority in this situation. So the motion would have to come from Alderman Blessum, Samuelson, or Fuller to revisit the item at this meeting. There's also the option to suspend the rules if that's something that the council wants to consider. So I'll place that on the table as well.
Since City Attorney just won.
The motion failed, but the presiding, the victorious vote would have been the Blessum, Fuller, Samuelson vote. So that would have, yes, because the motion was to approve, so the failing vote would have been those that voted yes with the vote. So it's a double negative, but the prevailing side was the parties that voted against it. Does that make sense?
So, Mr. Mayor, if I could, I'm not going to bring that motion. One of the other gentlemen could if they choose to. But what I will say is that I'm not without worry about MHA if they have needs. Okay, they're a government entity created in city ordinance working under state law, is my understanding. Okay, We just approved agreements tonight and spent a whole bunch of the people's money helping out a bunch of different nonprofits that are in similar situations. My urging for the council would be for them to bring a request in that process in the coming year, and we may be able to allocate funds to help them with their building and to make it function and work better. I believe that's a better approach than trying to rig this into the facade program, which was obviously created for private investment in downtown. That's clear in the language. And so I'm not going to bring the motion to reconsider because I still don't believe that that's the right approach, but it doesn't mean that we cannot consider help for MHA should they need it in the coming year.
Alderman Olson.
Thank you. So first a question for the city attorney, because I'm just very perplexed by that. And I feel like a few months ago, we had a similar situation. And when it was a tie, either side could bring it back. So maybe maybe I'm misunderstanding that, but I certainly will follow your recommendation there. But is there anything that is keeping Minot Housing Authority from reapplying and bringing it back to us?
I'm not aware, Alderwoman Janser, Mayor Janser and Alderwoman Olson, I'm not aware of anything in the facade improvement guidelines that preclude them from reapplying. Our Community and Economic Development Director, though, is probably more familiar with those guidelines. And he's shaking his head no, that he's not familiar with that there being a preclusion from a reapplication for the facade improvement.
And I'll just say,
funds.
I mean, I'm concerned, we've gone through this a number of times in 2025, where we've had these tie votes. We're not doing the work that we're supposed to do when we have a tie vote. There should be a majority vote in every vote that we take. And this was a situation that occurred because one of our aldermen was gone. But, you know, this is a big deal. And I would like us to have one more stab at it, whether it's being brought back because we make that motion or because Minot Housing Authority, you know, decides to reapply. But I hope that we get the opportunity to vote on it one more time.
City Finance Director.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I think my thought process would be is if that were to be the route that was taken, that there would be a new application, it would be treated as a new application. It would go back in front of the Renaissance Board for approval, follow the exact same process that it went through to get here the first time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Alderman Fuller.
So I guess my question would be to Dave, since it came to the council and it failed, we just let them keep biting at the apple over and over and over until they get the result they want? Because we already told them no. So that's my question. I mean, like, that doesn't seem very right to me either. You came to us once, the vote didn't go your way, and now you just get to keep taking bites until it does go your way. I don't think that's right.
Further comments by staff or city attorney?
So I'm looking at our rules of order. I can plug into Dias 7 and share it with I believe this is Dias 7, yes. Share with the council. So these are our rules of order on motions for reconsideration, and they state, after the decision on any question, any member of the city council who voted with the majority of the question, and then as Alderwoman Olson pointed out, it does state, or on either side of the question if there was no majority, may move for a reconsideration of the vote at the same or next succeeding meeting without regard to whether each meeting is a regular or a special meeting. So I stand corrected by Alderwoman Olson. It appears as though a motion for reconsideration can be made by either side of the question. I apologize.
Can I clarify something? Does that mean we have to decide on it tonight, or that we can talk about it at the next meeting? Because we have to decide on it tonight, then a 3-3 vote.
Yeah, it's got to be brought tonight.
Yep.
Unless we suspend the rules and wait until we're 7 people.
Really, we could just throw out all these rules if we want to. I mean, we could just fly by the seat of our pants at all times. And right now, Alderman Olson, it's you have the floor. If you want to make a motion, you can, but it's got to be done tonight because the rules do say that at least.
And I'm trying to do the work that I think that we need to do, and a tie vote is not doing the work. So my question for the city attorney, knowing now that I could make a motion, may I make a motion to have it put on the upcoming agenda?
So it does state in here, after a motion for reconsideration has once been acted on, no other motion for reconsideration shall be made without unanimous consent. So if there is unanimous consent to place it on the next agenda, I think that there's room for that to be made. I don't know that you'll reach that here tonight.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can continue, I agree. I would strongly urge my colleagues to allow 7 people to vote on this. We'll have an answer at our next meeting. It'll either pass or fail at that time. So my motion is to put the request from Minot Housing Authority for a facade improvement grant on the first meeting in January.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's go ahead and vote on the motion.
The motion failed 3-3 with dissent from Blessum, Fuller, and Samuelson.
And to be clear, in the minutes, it required a unanimous vote. So,
Very well.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, again, I want to be very clear. I think MHA should bring us a request during the next period to do this the way that it should have been done, which is completely open to them as the entity type that they are, and we've got the ability to work with that within our budget process next year. So please do.
Alderman Pittner.
I think the alternative path forward, and that is one path forward, is to submit another application, go through the process again when there is a 7-person council. It achieves what Alderwoman Olson was trying to attempt by reconsideration. And then, again, it has to go through the process. There's been expenses put into engineering and all that already. So, again, I would say it would be pretty seamless to get through the Renaissance Zone Board meeting with a similar recommendation. And then maybe some of the concerns that Alderman Blessum, brought up with a church or a school, coming with a similar request can be looked at by the Renaissance Zone Board to ease any concerns of some of that windfall if something like that were to be approved or not approved. But again, it's probably something worth looking at regardless. So,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Samuelson.
Thank you. I would just like to say that I am up here to do the city's business every meeting. I vote the way I vote because that's the way I believe and I think it's right. Majority, minority, or tied. I believe we are all here doing our work, and to say that we're not doing our work just because it's a tie vote is very disingenuous, because I am up here doing what I was elected to do at every meeting. Thank you.
Alderman Pittner.
I just want to, again, I didn't take it that way as saying nobody's up here doing the work. I think everybody's voting with their compass. I just think it's, again, I take it, we did it a lot when we had a 6-person council. We moved things until we had a 7-person council so that there was a definitive answer and it didn't end in a tie. Again, there's a reason we have 7 people. So I understand that. Things happen, we don't have 7 people. Sometimes people go on vacations, sometimes you have special elections for reasons. So again, I didn't take it that way, but again, I don't think that was a slight at anybody in the least, so.
Okay, we're going to move on to liaison reports. We'll start with Alderman Fuller.
I have Library Board and Ward County Planning Commission this Thursday, so.
Thank you, Alderman Samuelson.
I had Ward County Planning last month, and then we have another meeting on Thursday. I was also honored to attend a couple weeks ago the 7 officers that we swore in for the department.
I covered my information during the mayor's report. Alderman Pittner.
I have nothing.
Alderman Blessum.
Mine all seem to pile up all at once. I've got Commission on Aging, 911 Committee this week, as well as helping out the airport with some selection of a consultant. So it all seems to come in a couple days.
Alderman Olson.
On November 20th, attended the Central Dakota MPO Executive Board meeting, and then that evening attended the 3rd Street Reconstruction Public Meeting. December 9th, attended the Service Basin Planning Council Executive Board meeting. Just wanted to thank everyone. Certainly want to thank Jennifer, our PIO, for putting the information about the child care survey out on our website. The child care survey has closed, and we're getting the results, and the results are going to be shared very soon, so looking forward to that. They'll be shared with the Child Care Committee and then to the rest of the public. Following Mayor Janser's challenge, I'll be ringing the Salvation Army bell on Wednesday at Dakota Square. And later this week, Service Basin Loan Review Committee and Central Dakota MPO Board meeting will occur.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Olson. Before item 10, one quick announcement. The cookie drive for airmen at Minot Air Force Base is going on right now through tomorrow. So if you have cookies that you feel the airmen should taste and should enjoy, get them to the Chamber EDC office tomorrow. Is there a motion for number 10?
Second.
Moved and seconded, we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.